Are you considering selling your home, taking advantage of the high house prices, the crazy buyer demand out there, the people that are willing to make crazy, insane offers way above the asking price and waive everything, cash out, and potentially go rent something? That's what we're going to dive into in today's video. We're going to talk about the times when it makes sense to potentially sell your house and go and rent, and also the times when it doesn't make sense. And now may be one of those times, but not for the reasons that you think. As you likely know, timing the housing market is very, very difficult. Everybody wants to buy at the bottom, sell at the top, and then repurchase again at the bottom, right? It's the way that you can make quick money on property. And with what happened in the last downturn, everyone thinks that a bubble is on the horizon and that's about to burst, and a lot of people are wanting to take advantage of it, right? They've owned their property for a couple of years, they've seen equity grow and grow and grow, and they're wondering, how can they capitalize on this opportunity? Is selling and renting the right thing to do? And that's what we're going to dive into in today's video. Now let's take a minute here and talk about when it doesn't make sense to sell your property and rent, and then we'll dive into the couple of times when it actually does make sense to sell your property and potentially rent a property. So as a real estate agent with nearly 20 years of experience, when I have somebody tell me that they want to sell their home, my next question is, okay, then what? What is your plan? Are you planning on buying something else? Are you planning on moving out of state? What's your motivation behind selling your property? And I get people that come and tell me, hey, I want to sell my property because I think we're reaching the top. I want to sell it and I want to go rent something for a little bit and potentially wait to see what happens with home prices. And if they pull back, then I'm looking to buy something else. And in theory, it sounds like a very, very good strategy. And so the first thing I tell them to do is, why don't you go and look at rental property? Let's go look on the MLS and see what's out there for you to rent based on what you currently pay right now. And actually, let's even in some cases put that aside and let's just see if we can find a similar property to yours right now and see what it rents for. And what happens more often than not is people can't find something comparable to what they have now. Maybe they can't find comparable in size, bedrooms, lot, location, or maybe even cosmetic upgrades on the inside. And even with that said, a lot of times, actually most of the time, that rental property ends up being way more than what they're currently paying on their mortgage at the present time. And so it puts them back a little bit and makes them think, okay, so I'm going to have to pay, double to find something like I have right now. And, renting a property, you're throwing your money away, right? You're paying the landlord's mortgage on that property. You're getting no forced savings. You're getting nothing out of it. But if you can take advantage of lower home prices in the near future, it could be a good opportunity. And so that's why people start to consider it. But right now, rental market is in as much demand as the housing market, right? Rentals are very, very scarce, very low supply. There's a lot of demand out there for them. And I'm hearing stories just like the housing market where people are having to outbid each other in order to get their rental application accepted. And in many cases, landlords are asking for a year's worth of rent up front or multiple months of rent up front because that's what other people are offering. And so you have to be competitive in the rental market just like you do in the housing market in order to stand out. And so you have to decide as a potential seller, is that something you want to do? And if it is something you want to do, is it even a property that you can find, right? Are you actually going to be able to find something? So if you're in the position where you're looking at rentals, there's a ton of them out there, what you pay in rent is comparable to what you pay on your mortgage, then maybe it does make sense to sell your property and go rent something. But if you're on the other hand and you're not seeing any rentals available in your market or maybe out of state where you're considering, then maybe take a step back and start, reconsidering whether or not you should sell your property at this time and take advantage of the market. Because if it's that tough to find a rental property, then what's your plan once you sell your property? Are you going to sacrifice and go rent something less than what you want? And what happens if the housing market doesn't turn in months or a year or a couple of years and you're in this rental property? If that isn't the right rental property, and then you have to go find another rental property at some point in the future, and then you incur moving costs multiple times, having to move multiple times. And what if the market continues to appreciate, right? And you're sitting on the sidelines waiting for home prices to go down when in fact they go up. And the reason I say this is because I've had multiple clients over the last couple of years be in this exact same predicament. In fact, I had one that sold in 2019 because they expected the market to pull back because it had been on a rise since 2012, and they've been sitting on the sidelines ever since. They've missed over 30% appreciation just in that instance alone. And there's multiple stories out there like this. Now, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't do this. I'm just giving you the reasons why it might not be what you think it is. But let's talk about the times when you should consider selling your home and potentially going to rent something. Now, you still have to be able to find a rental, right? I mean, there's no ways to get around that. So you're going to have to be able to find a rental. But the times that you should really consider selling your home, maybe taking advantage of the market, if you will, is if you have a short-term time horizon, right? If you're planning on moving in the next year and a half anyway, right? Maybe you're moving out of state. Maybe you know for whatever reason that you're not going to be in the same area. Now could be a very good time to take advantage of the housing market, right? Low supply, high buyer demand. People are still offering above the asking price in many markets when it's priced at fair market value. So that could be a great opportunity to take advantage of the market. A second time might be you just get to the point where you can no longer afford that property, right? Maybe you went through, the pandemic and you had to go on forbearance, and coming out of forbearance, they've reinstated your loan, and it's just gotten to the point where, yeah, you can make it work, but it's a stretch for you. If it comes to where, making a payment is difficult, then maybe you should consider selling your property and taking advantage of the market. Or maybe you're a boomer, right? Somebody that's lived in their property some time. Maintenance has become an issue on the property. You can no longer maintain that property. It's becoming overwhelming just because of everything going on with that property. That's another reason to take advantage of selling and potentially going and renting something, or maybe even trying to buy something smaller. But this video is about selling and renting, and those are really the main times, in my opinion, when you should consider potentially selling your house and renting. But on the other hand, if you're one of those trying to time the market, as I mentioned, it's a difficult thing to do. And I would have you reconsider, right? Everybody wants to, again, sell at the top, buy at the bottom, and take advantage of the market. But it's more difficult than you think it is. So just make sure you're thinking through what you're trying to accomplish prior to just pulling the trigger. A lot of people, selling a home is an emotional process. A lot of people just think, well, I'm going to sell this and I'm going to go rent. And then their home gets in escrow and they figure out, oh, well, there's not really a lot to choose out there. What am I going to do? Am I going to have to move out of the area? Am I going to have to go live with parents or in-laws or whatever for a short period of time until that resolves itself? And what happens if it doesn't resolve itself because demand stays high on both the housing owning side as well as the rental side? So whatever you're considering, just make sure you're thinking through both sides. And do me a favor, if you found value in this content at all, hit that thumbs up, share it with anybody you know that might be considering selling their house or even potentially renting a property, just so they can get a gauge on what's actually happening in the market. But for now, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I appreciate all the support, and hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.